Hey guys, because of Ryan Garcia and the interest that he sparked in Bohemian Grove, I decided to dig into the archives and repost this old video that was on my old channel. I did this video around the beginning of 2022, and I want to put it back up so you guys can take a look at it and see what Bohemian Grove is all about. Again, what I try to do with my channel is show you guys all the ancient practices from the Old Testament, stemming from Babylon, Egypt, and all those places like that, still exists. And reason why it still exists is because those bloodlines still exist. The bloodlines are the people that you are voting for. They are the people that are running America and running every other nation in the world. And it will continue this way until Jesus Christ returns and put an end to it. But enjoy the video. Leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. Talk to you soon. Bye.
What's that? That's a restaurant?
Oh man, you never heard of Bohemian Grove? Oh, it's a retreat in San Francisco, for investment brokers, bankers, politicians, intellectuals. Amazing, I'm hip to it. Of course, I grew up in the Bay Area, so we always knew what was happening. Even as a kid, I always wanted to go, Wow, wouldn't that be something? Swim in the Russian River with some Secretary of State, pissing on a redwood next to Donald Trump. I mean, these guys are the elite. Men of power. Men. The women were excluded, but Supreme fucking Court forced the Bohemian to let the coos in. Can you believe that shit?
Hey YouTube world, Harvest is Plenty. Back with some more information for you guys. So, what do you think about the introduction? That was a pretty good introduction, explaining what Bohemian Grove is. So, before I get into it, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. So, Bohemian Grove. Many of you have heard about it. Most people haven't. So, what is it? So, it's a place where I like to say the elite get together and plan their domination over the world. So it's situated in California around San Francisco area, and it's an all-male club where they get together, and the membership includes like artists, musicians, and we're talking famous people here, business leaders, government officials, presidents, senior media executives, and people of power. We're talking heads of state that come over to Bohemian Grove, and they meet twice a year. Sometimes in the spring they have what is called a spring jinx in June, and they have their main July encampment that takes place as well. And so you guys can look all of this stuff up. But something I wanted to mention to you about the Grove, it says here, the Grove is particularly famous for a Manhattan Project planning meeting that took place there in September 1942, which subsequently led to the atomic bomb. Those attending this meeting included Ernest Lawrence, J. Robert Oppenheimer, the S1 executive committee heads, such as the presidents of Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, along with representatives of Standard Oil and General Electric, as well as various military officials. So as you see, all the heads of state, the power brokers, presidents of Harvard, Yale, Princeton, like a lot of these people, they all congregate there. And that was back in the day. Just think about, who's there now. If you look at the picture to the right, and this is on Wikipedia, in the picture you'll see President Ronald Reagan and President Richard Nixon. So these are just not normal, average, everyday people getting together and congregating. These are the most powerful people in the United States and the chiefs of industry. And they get together and they make plans. So just wanted to just drop this off to you guys. And it's a lot of things that go on that many people are just totally unaware of how things happen behind the scenes. Most people just rely on TV news and the information that's given to them. And then they go out and cast their vote I'm voting Republican, I'm voting Democrat, and think that's all that there is to it. No, 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 no. It's more than meets the eyes. A lot of things that go on behind the scenes that normal people like us are just not privy to. But just want to share this information with you guys. And until my next video, thank you, take care, and God bless you.
The Bohemian Grove is a camp in Northern California where 2,000 of the nation's most powerful men in politics, media, and various other industries meet and spend 2 weeks together every summer. People like George W. Bush, Richard Nixon, and Walter Cronkite are admitted members. There are some very odd and occult-like practices that occur at the club, including a mock human sacrifice called the cremation of care that has been recorded on video by Alex Jones and John Ronson. I encourage you to look it up and research it for yourself. The rest of this video will show you every time a politician has been confronted and asked about the Bohemian Grove. The politician's responses may surprise you.
I'll tell you a couple of stories about fraud. The Bohemian Club, did you say the Bohemian Club? That's where all those rich Republicans go up and stand naked against redwood trees, right? I've never been to the Bohemian Club, but you ought to go. It'd be good for you. Get some fresh air.
You consider yourself a Catholic, but what happens when you worship Moloch at the Bohemian Grove? New York Post says that male prostitutes are shipped into the Bohemian Grove. Can you tell us what happens there?
You actually believe all this junk?
Bill Clinton said that Republicans run around naked in the woods there.
Did you say the Bohemian Club? Yeah. That's where all those rich Republicans go up and stand naked against redwood trees, right? I've never been to the Bohemian Club, but you ought to go. It'd be good for you. Get some fresh air.
And you don't want to know what Richard Nixon said about the place you attended. It's a secret society. Can you tell us at least who invited you?
You know, it's nice to know that there's some people who have fantasy lives that have nothing to touch with. Nice to have you here. Bye-bye.
You can't answer the question?
Bye-bye.
You can't? Can you answer the question?
See you later. John in San Diego, you're next on the EIB Network. Hello.
Since I have you on the line, Rush, have you seen the video of the Bohemian Grove ceremony that Alex Jones produced that's on Google Video?
No, been invited to Bohemian Grove, but I've never been there. And I've not seen the video.
Now, at first he plays dumb, but then when I press him again, you can see he gets quite aggravated and then goes on a rant showing that he does know all about the Bohemian Grove.
Do you know about the activities within the Grove? Can you talk about that?
No, because I've never been there. All I know is that it's a bunch of elitists and power brokers who conduct secret meetings to take over the world, and they run around nude.
Now a question. What have Herbert Hoover, Art Linkletter, Jack London, and Richard Nixon all had in common? Well, they've all been members of the exclusive all-male Bohemian Club in California, where every year at this time the elite from around the country get together for 2.5 weeks of fun and games. Steve Shepard has this special assignment report.
More than 2,000 members of San Francisco's exclusive and all-male Bohemian Club have once again descended on Northern California. These men will spend most of the month of July encamped on some 2,700 acres of pristine and privately owned redwood forest. Forest very much like this. The place is called Bohemian Grove, and it's located just 80 miles north of San Francisco. The Grove is the Bohemian Club's summer retreat, and its facilities are hidden beneath lush forest canopy extending south from the banks of Sonoma County's Russian River. For more than a century, the camp has been a place where club members and guests from all across America gather to relax. The retreat is divided into dozens of small camps, the most prominent of which is called Mandalay. Among its members are businessmen like Leonard Firestone and Edgar Kaiser, and political figures like Gerald Ford, Henry Kissinger, William French Smith, and George Shultz. President Reagan, Vice President Bush, and Defense Secretary Weinberger are members of other camps. Richard Nixon is a Bohemian, and so are high-ranking executives of such companies as Eastern Airlines, Standard Oil of Indiana, and Bank of America. For the most part, the men of Bohemian Grove are over 50, highly successful, and, according to many employees, politically conservative.
Well, each year, many of them seem to have a stunt or try to come up with a stunt. Last year, in 1980, the popular button was Free the Fortune 500.
Membership in the Grove is by invitation only and is determined by such factors as social standing, occupation, and personal connections. Privacy is one of the Grove's most cherished virtues. Members may not photograph, record, speak, or write about activities at the retreat. While many public officials are Grove members, the press is a distinctly unwelcome guest.
We're from ABC News.
Well, get back there. Get back there.
Can we talk to somebody in the...
Get back there.
Anyone willing to navigate a boat up the Russian River can get a glimpse of the northern edge of the compound, but that's about all. Still, there are outsiders who have researched the Grove. Sociology professor William Dumhoff found out enough to write a book on the place.
Well, I think it's a playground for the powerful. It's a place where wealthy men from all of the United States gather for 2 weeks to relive summer camp with this ceremony called the cremation of care that begins the 2-week encampment where the body of dull care, symbolizing woes and concerns, is burned on an altar in front of a big owl statue. When that ceremony ends, they all start to cheer and yell and hand each other a beer.
Other regular activities include the production of 2 plays, one of which involves major sets, orchestral music, and extravagant costumes. The other play appears to be just a bit on the lighter side, at least judging from these old photos. Members also spend time swimming, hiking, relaxing in the sun, and doing a bit of drinking from the Grove's own privately labeled spirits. Like a boys' camp, the Grove has a symbol, in this case a somewhat fierce-looking owl. It also has a patron saint, St. John of Nepomuk, a legitimate 13th century Bohemian canonized for his sense of honor. What the Grove does not have is any women, not even as employees. Despite its camp-like atmosphere, the Grove does host some serious business.
To the degree that there's anything important happens at the Bohemian Grove, it's political. The important speeches that have been made at the Bohemian Grove have been made, for instance, and the best example, by Richard Nixon. Eisenhower gave a speech there. It was the first time the West Coast establishment really saw him close up.
Discussions at the Grove in the 1930s helped lead to the development of nuclear power and the atomic bomb. It was at the Grove in 1967 that Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan hashed out differences over their presidential ambitions. Each year, guests like Henry Kissinger or Zbigniew Brzezinski address members on their areas of expertise. Presidential counselor Edwin Meese will be among this year's speakers. And each year, other guests come to the Grove simply to enjoy themselves. This year, CIA Director William Casey is a scheduled guest of John McCone, former CIA Director. Baseball Commissioner Bowie Kuhn has been invited as a guest of baseball owner Peter O'Malley. Despite the presence of so many notables, the Grove is not without its small headaches. Anti-nuclear demonstrators gathered near the entrance to the retreat this year to wave signs and chant slogans. The Grove is also facing a suit from the state of California because it refuses to hire women. Still, the Bohemian Grove seems in no danger of passing. Herbert Hoover called it the world's greatest men's party, and there is a list of powerful people waiting to get in on it. Steve Shepard, ABC News, San Francisco.
In the U.S., Occupy protesters have descended on a quiet California redwood retreat, where some of the world's elite gather every year. Demonstrators say the 2 weeks, officially portrayed as a time of rest and relaxation, is really a chance to discuss plans for the world's future. So naturally, RT had to send Abby Martin to Bohemian Grove to see what it is that triggers those rumors and growing protests.
There's millionaires, billionaires, the people that control the world, control the central banks, that build nuclear weapons. I mean, this is their summer playground.
Straight from the San Francisco airport, I headed to Monte Rio, a city with beautiful redwoods and picturesque coastlines. The perfect getaway for the world's rich and powerful. And in fact, every year, CEOs, media moguls, and high-level politicians flock here to the Bohemian Grove's secluded campout.
They're making business deals there, they're talking policy, so there are a lot of conversations.
A claim which members deny.
Their motto here is that weaving spiders come not here, which they claim means there's no business discussions, it's just a vacation for the wealthy men.
Author and activist Mark Dice has a rare Grove yearbook issued every decade, showing everything from men in drag to high-profile politicians giving speeches. The book shows George W. Bush and his father giving lakeside talks, along with Presidents Jimmy Carter and Richard Nixon. Others who have attended are David Brooks of the New York Times, along with CEOs from CNN and Fox, Jimmy Buffett, David Rockefeller, and Henry Kissinger. Mark also has an official 2005 membership list of Grove attendees.
Your typical warmongers, George Bush Sr., Colin Powell, Richard Pearl, and your typical Republican establishment insiders.
Hundreds heeded the call to protest.
The people in the Grove are about to be conquered.
Activist Felipe Messina worries about dangerous policies that are drafted from within the Redwoods.
The nuclear program was discussed here and then developed later. The fact that Reagan was here in '80, and then afterwards we had the Reagan Revolution.
We know what you're doing. We know what goes on in here.
An event with so little transparency has bred theories, some of them pretty wild, about what goes on the inside. Especially at the cremation of care ritual, where Grove members burn a coffin effigy to a 40-foot owl. Peace and justice activist Cindy Sheehan speculates on the lack of media coverage.
Because they're part of it. You know, they're the propaganda arm for the 1%.
The corporate media is the 1%. I mean, if you look at it that way, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, they are the corporate 1%. They're not going to do negative stories about themselves, about capitalism, about global empire and war.
How can someone own a 2,000-year-old redwood grove? Well, that's the question that the occupiers are asking about the Bohemian Grove, which they say belongs to everyone and not just the 1%.
What's going on up there?
At the gates of the Bohemian Grove, a line of riot police made sure that everyone didn't gain access to the lair of the 1%. Abby Martin, RT, Monterio, California.
What's that? That's a restaurant?
Oh man, you never heard of Bohemian Grove? Oh, it's a retreat in San Francisco, you know, for investment brokers, bankers, politicians, intellectuals. Amazing, I'm hip to it. Of course, I grew up in the Bay Area, so we always knew what was happening. Even as a kid, I always wanted to go, you know. Wow, wouldn't that be something? Swimming in the Russian River with some Secretary of State, pissing on a redwood next to Donald Trump. I mean, these guys are the elite. Men of power. Men. The women were excluded, but Supreme fucking Court forced the Bohemian to let the Coos in. Can you believe that shit?